I say this as a father of a man who won the Bronze Star, the Conspicuous Service Medal, and lost his life in Iraq. Imagine the courage, the daring, and the genuine sacrifice they all made.
That was Joe Biden giving a speech the other day in which he suggested that his son, Beau Biden, had died in Iraq. Beau died tragically, but later of I believe it was brain cancer, something of that nature. So, you know, he misspoke there, obviously. It's kind of a harder one to just misspeak about. I'm not sure what he meant then.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is, I mean, do some people think that it's still a mix-up, but there's this idea that people often are exposed to things while they're fighting overseas that are carcinogens, and there are these higher incidents of cancers that are related to their service.
I mean, I guess I don't think that's what he was getting at.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously this has sparked a question, an ongoing conversation about his mental capacity, the idea being that something so visceral and so meaningful and so important as the loss of a child is something that you would expect someone to not mess up factually. You know, I think that there's some legitimacy to the broader conversation. I don't know that I would point to this one particular instance as evidence of that. It is sometimes the case that when you're giving speeches and you get in a pat rote kind of pattern there, you know, the things that you usually say can kind of come tumbling out. And
but who is he referring to then? I don't know. I mean, I think there's plenty of evidence to make the case about Biden not being the same Biden that he was 10 years ago, for sure. Well, to that point, though, so there was an interesting, and this is one of the reasons I want to talk about this, there was an interesting story in the New York Times, I believe it was yesterday. Let me see, I just pulled it up. Yeah, yesterday. Was yesterday 2 days ago. President Biden, storyteller-in-chief, oh yeah, there it is on screen. Biden, storyteller-in-chief, spins yarns that often unravel about his long history of embellishing stories. You know, folksy Joe Biden just saying things that aren't true or kind of not true. They cite the example of, he said his house got struck by lightning and burned down. It was much more mild fire than that. And you know, so many things. And this story kind of treats it with kid gloves, because like over and over again says, well, it's nothing like Donald Trump's lies, which are so massive, so bad. But yeah, he does exaggerate things, and so did Hillary Clinton, and so did media figures. The kind of Iraq exaggeration is a common thing. Oh, I went to Iraq, and I almost got I was in a lightsaber battle with Saddam Hussein himself.
Brian Williams, who says he was in the chopper and all that.
Yeah, Hillary did too.
Yeah, well, Biden, one of his most ridiculous ones was when he claimed he was arrested trying to see Nelson Mandela, which got debunked. It wasn't true, and then he kept saying it. So I think that sort of stuff is incredible evidence, because even let's say hypothetically that you got something wrong or got caught in an embellishment, obviously your team is telling you, don't say that you went and got arrested trying to see Nelson Mandela. Don't try to insert yourself into one of the biggest civil rights struggles of our time. You've already been caught out. And then he continues to do it. And there have been these moments in his speeches where he'll say things like, they don't want me to say this, or they don't like when I say this, and he goes ahead and says it anyway, really kind of giving the game away that there are people behind the scenes that are trying to keep him in line, and he will not be put in the corner.
Yeah, I mean, there's a kind of an old man, I had to walk 7 miles in the snow uphill both ways to get to school, and I was in the trenches in World War I, obviously ridiculous, but just kind of old man stuff. But I don't know. I mean, he's the president of the United States. Does he just embellish his stories or forget key details of them when he's giving speeches? Or does that also happen when he's having conversations with other world leaders and top members of his administration? Is it affecting his decision making, or is it just a problem when he speaks?
Well, we talked about this yesterday. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, because at the end of the day, if he's the candidate, he's going to be the Democratic candidate who's going to vote the right things, weigh on the things that people want to vote on. Well, but it matters a little bit more here. He's not just not 1D and there's 50 others in the legislative body. I mean, decisions in theory do fall to him. Or else then why the freak out about Trump? Trump's an R. Who cares? An R's an R. Well, you're asking why conservatives freaked out about Trump.
No. Why would the media? Why would anyone think?
Well, people who don't agree with his policies don't want him to do the R things. Well, no, not the Trump crazy things, just the basic R things.
No, but all of them who said, but he's not an R. He's a Donald Trump. This is not like any other R. This is the most terrifying and horrifying thing that has ever happened in all of human history, because it's Donald Trump.
I can't speak for that, because I wasn't like that. I think that the things, frankly, Donald Trump wishes he could have caused more harm to poor and working people as Bill Clinton. Like, that's not my bag. I don't like people who are offended by Donald Trump because like he was impolite because he was, you know, he was uncouth. That was probably the best thing about him as far as I was concerned, because at least it was obvious what he was doing. It wasn't this behind the scenes nonsense. But in this case, nobody's going to care if Joe Biden is the nominee for the same reason nobody cares that Herschel Walker has been accused of abusing his wife and ignoring his children and being a hypocrite on abortion. Because at the end of the day, if Joe Biden would vote and advocate to protect abortion rights, not that anyone's going to pass an amendment to actually protect abortion rights, as Democrats have been promising to do for years. But if he will make the right noises about abortion, and the Republican nominee, whoever it is, won't. No, all of this is on some level a moot point.
I guess I disagree with that. I would agree with it in general involving other government officials, but the president has a lot of just power that as the chief executive of
You think some Democrat is not going to vote for Joe Biden because they think he's too senile?
No. Well, I don't know. Politically, I don't know. But I'm saying, he's not just like another Dem if his mental faculties are eroding.
He could be a potato. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but he could be comatose. He could be Reagan.
Well, from a political standpoint, sure.
Yeah,
I'm saying
and that's
from an
all that
actual.
matters.
Well, I'm saying from the standpoint. I think it ought to matter in his case from the standpoint of running our government.
It will never matter as long as we have a two-party duopoly and no ranked choice voting. Yeah. And if people want to break out of these horrible circular situations that we end up in over and over and over again, we have to be very serious about breaking out of the two-party duopoly and getting ranked choice voting.
Well, no disagreement there. The two-party duopoly is what gets you Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
100%.
The hardest choices many Americans have ever had to make in their lives. More Rising right after this.